Greetings everyone, welcome to Discord board tutorial series, and in today's video we're going to build a comprehensive pull command. So let us dive into the demo. On my Discord, I'm going to start with the pull command. I'm going to pass in the number of time or the minutes that I want the pull to go on for, and then the number of maximum vote will be allowed. In this case, I'm going to do 2. And then the title. This is a test. And then the number of options available to people to vote. So I'm going to set only 2 of them. Although you can do max 10. So I'll go ahead and push enter here. And you can see we have got the titles, and when the poll will end is shown in minutes, the icon, and the vote, its options itself. So if I react to this, what will happen is that 2 more fields will be added with the progress bar. The progress bar is set basically based on the number given on the input by the command itself. So if there are like 100 maximum number of values allowed, then this will be set to that. And when you react, the time to time, this will be updated the minute. Now the 2 way to actually get the poll result, it's actually hitting the maximum value of the vote, or the poll gets expired and you get the result. So if I show you right here, and you will see the result will be printed out. So the one has the title of the poll and number of votes. Although you could have got these results if the poll command has got expired. So the time that was set, if it had got expired. Anyway, now we will dive into the prerequisite sections. So go to your browser and then head over to the Dev Strikers, which is my GitHub repository. The link will be down below. And what you want to do, it's clone the repository. By the time you clone the repository, everything will be updated, so you may not need to code. However, I will highly recommend you to follow along the tutorial so that you know what needs changing and what needs to implement, so that it's all clear, because I had few people who actually turned up for help over my server, but all the instructions were given in the video, but unfortunately I had to deal with this. So it makes it a little bit harder, because there are other people who might be beginners who don't understand, and they need more help when you know a few of the stuff and you can figure it out yourself. So that'll be easy, guys, if you just follow along the video and let me know if there's any problem of understanding the video. Then I'll try my best to improve further along. So I'm gonna go ahead and clone the repository. Now you want to open your text editor or IDE, whichever you like in this case, and clone the repository if you're using mine. If not, then go ahead and create your own. So I'm just going to paste my repository link, and I'm going to hit clone, and we should begin the cloning process. And now you should pop, if you're using PyCharm, you should get a pop-up to install all the requirements for this project. So I have created a requirements.txt file which has got all the packages listed to install in order to get started with this repository. So you can do it this way if you have the idea. If you don't, then I'll leave there's a link down below to how to set up the virtual environment for Python there, and you can follow up for your designated operating systems. So I'll go ahead and press OK. So for me, that will automatically install every packages that are available here and set up everything for me. Once you have everything set up, you want to head over to your Discord developer portal. And from there, you want to select from the left-hand side menu, bot sections, scroll down all the way, and please ensure that member intents and server present intents and member intents are toggled on, so that when you're using my repository, you will not run into an issue where it says that it requires the present intents to be turned on. So next thing you want to do is go ahead and copy your token. So I'll go ahead and copy mine. Then I'll head over to my PyCharm, open .env file and paste the token right here, like this. Go ahead and save all, and that should be it. So that goes for the project setup. And one last thing, on main.py, scroll down to line number 26 and ensure to uncomment this line, so that if there are any errors that are internally happening, the error will be sent out to your, or at least logged to your Discord, and you can see them. And when you're pushing this code to your productions, make sure to comment back again. So you don't want to see other user to take a look at your internal file error systems and sort of stuff. So that goes for the project setup. We will move to the coding section now. Now let's create some files. So open the command sections and the database sections. Right click on the commands, new, and Python file. And we're going to name this pull. And I'll cancel this. Right click on the database, new file. I'm going to call pull.json. And going to create another file. And going to call this a scheduler. So scheduler scheduler.json, and that's it. Gonna put some parentheses on for both, and that should do it. Save all. Can close both of them, and then now let's start with our Python file. So I'm going to start with the import. And then from datetime, import datetime, and from discord.ext, import commands and tasks. That should do it. I'm gonna create the class called pull, which will take commands.cog, come out there. C should be small. And we're gonna define the init method with the lambda, and which will take the bot itself. It's gonna say self.bot is equal to bot, and finally define the setup functions. Gonna pass in the bot. Gonna come here and gonna say dot add cog, and it's gonna call the class itself in the bot, and that should be it for setting up. Just gonna reformat that, and that should do it. Now there are gonna be a few steps here, guys, so it's going to be 1,000 lines of code, just to let you know in advance, so you have to stick around a little bit. Obviously we need to get the information for creating the poll. That's going to be the first step. And the next step is like what happens when users going to react to that, how we're going to store their count, and also going to show the results in the progress bar. And then finally, literally creating a background tasks, in this case, which is going to be a looping through, like, let's say every 15 minutes, checking that it is the right time to show the results, or if the maximum number of target for the pool has been reached, so that it could also literally publish the result to the user, saying that it has been the case. And a few of the edge cases that we will cover too. on this one. So I'll just begin it anyway. Any question, leave down below, or you can reach out to my Discord server. So first I'm going to get the emojis, which are going to be all the emojis. So I'm just going to quickly copy and paste them here. So we will pass them in a constructor, so that could be reusable. And now we're going to create the command itself. So at commands dot command, and we're also going to check if the right person that could use the command. Commands dot has permission, and we're going to check for administrator. Set that to true, and gonna call the async function. So async define, and name of the command, which is going to be the pull. It's gonna take the self, then context cdx, and it's gonna ask for the time, and time is going to type of the time is going to be integer, and the vote also, and it's gonna be int. And then the title, which we could actually declare it string here, so that but in another case, like if somebody wants to let's say pass in some numbers or something, then it will be a problem. So in this case we can programmatically handle that, so I'll leave that as it is, and then all the options. Perfect. So these are the arguments that we take in. Now the first thing first, I'm going to check that the length of the option is not greater than 10. So because we're only allowed to take 10 numbers of pull options. So I'm going to say 10, and right here I'm going to say await ctx dot send, and gonna pass in a emoji. Gonna say no entry, and gonna say you can only have, and then make this bold, 10 option at maximum. Perfect. That will do. Next is one more thing. We're gonna say that the time, literally, because if you remember, I said the task, there will be some task running in the background, which will run every 15 minutes. So we don't want anything to be executable before 15 minutes. So, and hence we're going to say else if time it cannot be less than or equal to 15. Okay. And in this case, we're also going to say just going to remove the message. Let's say please provide pull and time greater than 15 minutes. Right, that goes for that. Now for also the vote, we don't want to take like very large number, because you see those progress bar, they are literally there. Obviously it won't affect the progress bar, because we will set that way that it doesn't get effect for mobile views and the desktop views. but it's just that we don't accept n number of number of votes. They could possibly mess things up, and people could mess up. So we also want to validate that input. So else if, and I'm gonna say it should be less than a million, right? So 1, 2, 3 zeros, another 1, 2, 3 zeros, less than the vote. And if that's the case, we should pop up a message to the user asking them to give me the right input. So we can say, please provide pool number, pool max, pool vote maximum number less than million. Perfect. So these are the 3 cases. We just take care of the first. If those all pass, then we're gonna go to the else, which is where we actually going to store the information and set up the pool. So in here, what I'm gonna do is say the pool file here is only going to be dedicated to the message ID, where the message is, and for that message, how many numbers of votes are going in. I will not store any other information here. Whereas scheduler will schedule the task, where we will keep track of the time, and also it will keep track of if it's the right channel sort of stuff and whatnot. So this is why I kind of set up 2 files, although I could potentially put in 1 file. But you see, the problem is that the more data it will store. Imagine you have 500 servers and you want to do a pool for that. The complexity could potentially harm the performance of the bot. Although in databases you might not have that issue, because if you have relational database, you can relate, so you can have your primary keys, secondary keys, and you could do one-to-one, one-to-many relationships, and that will take care of all this. Even in non-SQLs, the complexity shouldn't be an issue. But anyway, you're gonna say with open. And in here, we're going to open the databases. Just to let you know, for Windows, it'll be \. For Mac and Linux, it's /. And database is /scheduler .json. And we're going to read the file as file. Perfect. And let's load it. So I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to say data is equal to JSON.load. And I'm going to load the file. Perfect. And what will happen now? We're going to write to check if str ctx.message.channel.id is not in the scheduler data. Right. So we will check for that. So that to stop a duplicate. So in every you can have an n number of pools, but they should be dedicated part channels, so that way you could potentially stop spamming. Although if somebody really hates you, then you should look for a way to solve this by a server, so that you can rate limit like per server 10 pools sort of stuff. But for small servers and sort of stuff, for small bot, that shouldn't be an issue at the moment. I don't see it. But in the future, you probably have to modify to say like every server can have a 10 pool per sort of stuff. Okay. So now I'm going to iterate through the pools equals to, I'm going to write a little comprehension here. And within here, because if you see on a field, we have to pass in for embed, especially the field takes three. I believe there are 3 fields which needs to be filled in, which is the name, value, and inline. So that's what we're going to do to iterate through our data, and we're going to separate them like in a way that they go add to the field basically automatically. So here I'm going to set this to be empty. Going to pass in this Unicode, which will set things to BT, and then I'm going to say new line, then join, and put my comprehension here. I'm going to say first one is the index and the options. So the count of each index with the emoji and the options basically. So you will see this in a minute. I'm just going to say f string and then self dot emoji. So we're going to call our emoji. And I'm going to pass in the index here. And gonna be the next thing is going to be option. Just to see it's options, right? Okay, yes. Option here because I'm going to iterate through the options, and with little new line, so it gives a nice little space in the embeds. And I'm going to say for index and then option in enumerate. And it's going to be enumerating the options that are passing. So options. And we're also going to pass in the data for the inline, which is going to be false. Perfect. That should do it. Let's take a look. What's the issue? Yes. Let me just shift this a bit more so it's easy for me to see. Okay, oh, right, I didn't end here. So that should do it. Perfect. So now I'm just actually going to close this one so I can see it. The entire code is visible. And now I'm going to take the embed is equal to discord.embed, and I'm gonna pass in title. Title is equal to title that we are getting, comma, and then description equals to, and this is how we're going to pass in for the first time. So emoji stop watch and then space, and I'm going to say pool will end in, and the first time when we send the embed, this will show the input time that has been provided by the user, which is the time itself, and then space, and then minute, minute, and then the S, that should do it. And then we're gonna pass in the embed color, so which is color is equal to 0xf, and then 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4. This should give the red color. And now we're going to set the thumbnail for our embed, so which is embed dot set thumbnail, and it's going to be URL equals to, I'm going to say https colon cdn dot discord dot discord app.com /icons slash, and then we need to pass in the server ID, which is the ctx. Oh, I forgot to put the string, so that is highlight the string levels. ctx.message guild.id. Then we're going to pass in the ctx.message guild icon, and then at the end .png, the format itself. Perfect. If anything goes wrong, then we can check this later on. Let's just come down here. And now that we have our comprehension, we're going to iterate through again and then pass into add that to our field. So let's do that. For name, value, and inline in polls. I'm going to come down here and say embed dot add field. Let's say name equals to name, and then value equals to value, and then inline equals to inline. Perfect, and that should do it. And now we're going to send this data with the reactions in it. So message is equal to await ctx.send, and embed is equal to embed. And now we are going to add the emojis. So let's do that for item in self dot emoji, and we're going to take the length of it, len, and the options. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say await message dot add reaction and the item. Cool. That should be fine. We will test that. If there's any error, we'll fix this. All it's doing is checking the length of the option according to the setting the emoji. And now we want to actually store all the data. So the data that we have collected, so they will be partitioned into two sets, which is one will be distributed to the polls.json and the other will be scheduler, where we're going to schedule our tasks. And later on, that will be helpful with that. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's going to be poll data. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to say with open. And it's going to be the databases. So let me get that location real quick. I'm just going to change that to pull, and it's going to be right now. And I'm going to say as file. I'm going to say pull data equals to JSON dot load, and we're going to load the file here. Perfect. And also we're going to take the new message. So new message equals to str message.id. That should do it, and then pull dictionary. Dict dot from keys. I'm going to pass in the list and then option here, and first when it's going to set, everything will be set to 0. So when these numbers will get increment each from, then they will move on. Otherwise, the default values are going to be 0. Perfect. I'm going to go down. I'm going to say pull data. Say new message equals to pull dictionary. Perfect. That should do it. I'm going to say width open, and now I'm going to write. So okay, 1 second, I made a mistake here. So that should be actually the one going down. And I'm going to say read here, write here. I'm going to say new poll data. Right. That should be fine. And I'm going to say JSON dot dump. And I'm going to pass in the pool data, comma new pool data, comma and then indent equals to 4. That should be fine for the pool, storing the pool data. And now we're going to store the pool schedule. So pool schedules, right? So let me just quickly copy this one. Actually, I don't need to. I don't need to read, but I will need to write, right? And also finish up the command. So I'm going to say write here. And before that, I need to actually structure the data. So I'm going to say pass here. Let's go down. Let's fix that. So let's say schedule data and message dot channel dot ID is equal to, I'm going to create a new dictionary, which is going to be the message message ID. We'll take the message dot ID, comma, and then schedule time. Scheduler time. We'll take the time itself, comma, and then pull start time. We'll take the pull start time as date time dot now, and we also have to format that. So is format and then comma, and also storing the max number of values. So max vote is equal to vote, so that we have all this information gathered, and now we're going to store them. Gonna say here new scheduler data, and JSON dot dump is going to be the scheduler data, I guess, and then the new one and then indent is equal to 4. Perfect. So that should do that. And I don't think anything to add. Obviously, here we said if that is the case, and if not, then we will obviously you want to notify the user that the channel is currently occupied with the poll. So I'm gonna say await ctx.send and gonna grab an emoji, no entry. Gonna say channel is currently occupied for pool. Perfect. And that should go for it. All right, let's go ahead and test this. I'm gonna save all. Gonna bring the slide here and right click on main.py and run. It should bring our bot online. Bot is online. Now let's test the command. So the poll, let's say 16 minute. I'm going to say only 2, and going to say here this is test, and going to say 1, 2, push enter here, and you can see now the command started. Obviously this will not work because we haven't shown anything, but we can see all the informations are correct. And let's go back to PyCharm real quick. Gonna check out the poll.json. So we have got the message ID and we know there are 2 options that where people can vote, and currently set to 0. And if we go to the scheduler, we got the channel ID, the message ID itself, the time which has been set by the user, and you can see it taken the current time right here, the format, and the maximum vote is allowed 2. Right, perfect. So our command is working, and now we can actually start implementing the React. So when users will react, it will do some of the work. So let us dive into that now. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and this is fine. So let's come down here, go out a bit. Let me just double check. And right here, let's say add commands.cog.listener. Gonna come down here and say async def. And I'm gonna say on row and then reaction add. It's gonna take the self and then gonna say payload. Okay, perfect. So now if payload dot member dot id is not equal to self dot bot dot user dot id. So we're just checking that the person who is reacted shouldn't be a bot. Right. Now, the two things we want to first of all store, and before we go further down, is the message itself and the number of reactions that are going on a message. Message is equal to await self dot bot dot get channel, and they're going to say payload dot channel dot id. Then we're going to say fetch message, and then they're going to say payload dot message id. Message id. That goes for message, and then let's say reaction equals to discord.utils.get. Let's say message dot reactions, and we'll say emoji equals to payload dot emoji dot name. Perfect. So that will get me for that specific channel, for that specific message, the reaction for that. Right, perfect. That is fine. So now what we can do is actually start implementing the message count. Also, before that, we can do another small thing before we go through that. The count is, you see, we said we are gonna update the time here. So every time that somebody will react to this message, they will see the time left. So there will be some decrement from the original time that was taken, and then obviously do the calculation, take away from that, and which should give us the time for that. So I'm gonna save some time, guys, from this, because I told you at the beginning that this is gonna be pure long, and if I start typing in, it's gonna be 2-3 hours long. So I'm just going to implement that and then explain you the code. That will be easier here. So guys, here you can see that we check if the message ID is in the pool data. So now, as we are dealing purely with the pool file, because we're going to update with the count and whatnot, so we are going to first open the file itself, and then we're going to check if that payload where people are reacting is present in the pool data. If so, then we'll go ahead and update the scheduler file too. So what we do is that open the scheduler here, we take two variables, which is max vote count and the time counter, set to 0. So they will be incrementing. Then iterate through our schedule data. And then basically we will take the max data from there and append that to the max value count, which is right here. And then we're going to do the time calculation, which is the current time. We'll take the time when people actually react, and then from the previous time, which is literally declared in our scheduler right here, we're going to read that and take away from that time to that time and get the total. So to do that, we divide that by the 60 of the total seconds, turn the whatever the calculation into a total seconds. We're using time del dot total underscore seconds. So that will do that, and then calculate the minutes by total seconds divided by 60. And right over here is we're checking for if it's less than equal to that, then keep the scheduler time. If it's not, then go ahead and show the user the updated time. Perfect. And that should be for this section of this small time implementation, so that now we will be able to see once we react the time itself. Perfect. That goes for the time sections. So now what's going to happen, we're going to jump back to the pool.json, and now we're going to start incrementing this bit. Again, I'm just going to implement it and then walk you through the code. So right here, guys, you can see that we check if somebody reacts to the emoji 1. In the demo that you have seen, there will be number 1 to 10, the max, and each number, when they do, they're also going to check if that number is literally less than the max count of the value itself. If not, then if those conditions are met, then what we're going to do is take these the poll itself in a list format right here, and then append to that 1. So each one of them will count to 1. Although we are not recording who is voting, so that one person can vote maximum time of numbers as he like, as long as once he reached to the max number that was provided, the result will be output. But as regardless of that, the user will be able to add as many as vote counts possible through reactions. And you can see this is a reputation, so that goes for the first emoji, second emoji, third emoji, fourth emoji, and so on. There are 10 number of emojis, so whichever is applicable, and if that present in the MSA pool data, it will do the count itself. Or else what's going to do is literally remove the reaction. And also there's another thing, because we don't have to keep count within the emoji. So once the user react, what we're doing is we're removing their reactions from the message itself, but obviously we are counting the trigger that is happening through the reactions, and appending that to the right data here. But however, it is not necessary to keep those count within the message. It looks a bit messy, so I did remove the reactions after the user react to it. So this is pretty much it. So basically, if you understand one statement right here, the if, then the rest is just simply, it's the same reputation across. This is why I didn't want it to code in the first place, because that will cost a lot of time. And now finally, is basically now what we're going to do is edit the embed and give that update information in terms of time, in terms of the how many vote has been done, the vote count itself, and the progress bar. So let me go ahead and implement that, and then I'll walk you down to the code. And now you can see here we have an update embed sections below the reaction sections of the counter. And what we're doing is that we're iterating through, again, getting the options and every information in this case. But here, one thing is getting added, which is pull graph. I'm calling that progress bar as a graph, because initially I wanted to create a graph, but then I figured that API has one of the downside is that it cannot edit attachments. So if you want to edit an embed and give the same, the main reason I didn't want it to spam with the new data in the channel, it doesn't look really neat. So I went with the edit embeds, and then when you want to edit an attachment, you can't actually do that. That's one of the negative of the API of Discord. So this is why I went with the emoji. I've seen some of the implementation on other bots doing various different things. So I took generally the idea and implemented here based on my logic given. So what is happening, you can see that the maximum number of values we're taking, we divided by the value that we're getting, and then divided by the number of boxes out there. So the maximum number of boxes we can fit there is 7, although you can increase that number of boxes. But what happened is that when you go above the 7, I've tested it on my mobile phone, and it starts to drop down, so it looks really ugly. So I kept it 7. Is one of the, you could say, downside of the frame size itself, and due to that we kept it small. But however, it shouldn't be a problem, because the number will increase, the progress bar will take more time to fill up, so there is no chances of breaking down here. Anyway, that goes for that. And now what we're doing when you're editing, we're actually pulling our previous embed messages rather than retyping them in some cases. But over here, what we're doing is we're updating with the time counter here. So you see when we take in the time and edit that, so we add over here so that the user is able to see after reactions. And right over here, we add our graph for each one of them. So we iterate through and each add one of them to all the add fields sections. And that goes for if this emoji is reacted to the 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. It's just a repetition of the codes, guys. So if you understand one bit of that, then every single one of them are same. And now what we can go ahead and is test the code. So I'm going to save all, hit run, and we should be able to see the results. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to remove this so we can test it on a new data. I'm going to remove that too. And save all. And that should be fine. Go ahead and hit run, and let us wait till the bot online. Okay, the bot is online now. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally going to take this, copy, and paste it right here. That should run the command itself. Now if I go ahead and react, you can see straight away, I can see the progress bar is working and sort of stuff. But if we give a few minutes, or at least a minute, then what will happen is that we will be able to see the result here too, because we have implemented that if it hits that number of time, or when the user is reacting, they should be able to see how long is left for that poll. And you can see as soon as I reacted for the next one, you see the time has updated. Where we were 16 minutes, as we went 1 minute past that it has reacted to that. So now obviously if I press 2, that the result will not show, because we have not implemented the poll result sections yet. So let us go ahead and create that coroutine task where we will do check every 15 minutes whether it is ready to show the results or not. And now we are back to our pie chart, and let's go up all the way. You can see it's already a very large set of codes. And what we're going to do, we're going to start our task right here. So I'm going to say add commands.cog listener. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to say async define on ready. So on ready, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to say self dot and I'm going to create a method which is going to run. So I'm going to name that method roll result. Pull result. Pull result dot start. And that's perfect. and that should start the method. So let me go ahead and implement the method, and then I walk you through the method too. Right here, you can see the task.loop is equal to second 10, because what we're setting here is that this loop, this specific method will be added to the loop, and it will run every 10 seconds. So obviously, when I publish this code, I'm going to set this to 15 minutes, but for the testing purposes, I'm leaving it to 10 seconds. And you can see the method itself. And what we're doing, we open the scheduler file and we go through the schedules first. We'll do the calculations. So this calculation and the previous calculation, they're pretty similar. The only thing is that now we are going to check if there are more schedules there. So more channels has got more. What I mean by is that more polls are for number of channels that are running. We're going to walk through each one of them. So we're going to iterate through them and then find the one is ready to actually show the result. If they're near to their time or they're about to expire, then we show their result. Or if they have reached their maximum number of vote count, then we will also go ahead and publish the result. So that what it's doing. So we iterate through. We get the channel and the message ID, and we open the poll files again and see the poll. We take the poll count, so the max number of count from the poll outcomes, and then we say there are two conditions. If the scheduled time is there or is greater than that, the time was given, then go ahead and trigger and show the result. Or if the poll count is greater than equal to the max number of vote count. So if there are 15 votes and it has met the result and the conditions in this case, then go ahead and trigger this part. So then we check if the message ID is present, so nobody has deleted or anything like that, or tempered the data, and then we will successfully go ahead and show the result here. And we're finally going to remove the schedule data and the poll data. And we are going to break out of the loop because it's running in between a loop. So it's going through each sections of that. And when it found the result, it should break out of it. So that goes for the loop, the task, guys. So that should show us the result. And let's go ahead and hit save. And we could potentially see this now. So let me go ahead and remove the current data because we will not be able to see that it went past the time. That should be fine. Let's go ahead and hit save and run. And what we will do when the bot is online, we will create a new poll data here. So let's go ahead and do that. So obviously you should be able to test by waiting 15 minutes. So I'm not going to stretch the video 15 minutes, but rather what I'll do is that reach to number of votes and ta-da, we've got the result. And if I go back to the pie chart and if I open the scheduler, you see the data has been removed here. So that data will not be present. But if you have another channel, another data, that will probably be there because that hasn't reached its target yet. If it did, then it will remove both of them whatsoever. And this is for overall implementation, guys. And you can see it's about 700 plus lines of implementation. And before we end the video, we're going to do one more check. Now, obviously, I did not create any additional command to stop the poll. Say you made a mistake and you don't want this poll to carry on and you want to end it. Rather than creating a command for that, what I did, I took an event that is provided through the discord.py, which is on message delete. And what happens when you delete the message is it's going to work as if there was a command where you actually execute that, and which could have potentially removed the data and so on the message itself. But here what's happening when you delete that message, it will go ahead and check if those data are present in the pool and the schedule.json, and it will get removed there. So let me go ahead and implement that, and then I can show you. And now you can see commands.cog.listener, and as I said, the on message delete, we're going to use that a method and invoke that method to get the message informations. And you can see we have a pull remove pull data and schedule, just like we implemented for the pull result. And what we're doing here is just simply checking if that message ID is still in the pull data. If it's there, you go ahead and simply remove both from both of the database. That's all it's going to do. So which is as equivalent of deleting, making a command for removing the pull. But I thought this would be much cleaner in this case. So let me go ahead and hit save. And we'll go ahead and run and wait for the bot to come online. Go back up, I'm gonna create again, pull. And what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to just simply delete that message, right? And let us go back to the PyCharm and to verify, and there is no data. You see, there are no data. So it is as equivalent of creating a command. So guys, this is the pull command. I do apologize that I wasn't able to type through the entire the entire implementation, because you can see there are 737 lines of code. I can argue the fact that I should be able to do it, but again, nobody's gonna watch my video for 2-3 hours. I don't think so, and I'm still improving my typing speed. I at least have to be 200 words per minute to finish this within a given time and talk through entire thing. However, anyway, enough of that discussions, and I hope this was useful, and I would suggest you to walk through the entire code and watch the video as I explain. And if you need help, then head over to our servers, and you can always ping me. But before you do that, I would again ask you to first watch the video and understand the code. The entire code has written, and the logics behind this implementation. And I hope you liked it. If you did, make sure to smash the thumbs up button, share, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. And until then, I will wait for a few more requests from you guys. This was also a request to make a video about it. I almost ended the series for Discord bot series, but on my previous video I have opened a window for you guys to take some feedback and make video on that, rather than me just doing what I was doing. And I hope there will be much more requests, and I will come up with another series very soon, which I'm working on it. And until then, thank you very much. Do take care, and good.